Every season that we go through in our lives will form us into some aspect of who we are. Sometimes we intentionally become that person, and at other times we're shaped based on the things that we didn't choose, the things that we did choose. For me, I became someone who learned how to go with the flow. Something that does not come naturally to me. If you know me well, you already know I have always been built out of the hustle, the pressure, the goals, achievement. I graduated high school at 16 because I wanted to go to college early. I graduated college in 3 years because I was on the grind and wanted to finish school so I could go to law school. And right after law school, I studied for the bar exam. And once I passed the bar, I went straight in to open my own firm. And then what do? Not only do I open one firm, then I open another firm. I be doing the most. And so for me, it doesn't come natural for me to not be in hustle mode. I have always been just constantly going on the grind. That's one thing that I had loved about myself and that people admire about me. But at the same time, I really just spent most of my life tying my value to my productivity and didn't even realize it. Slowing down really forced me to redefine myself. 2 years ago, I found myself exhausted, burnt all the way out. I didn't even have a choice to grind. I was so exhausted emotionally, mentally, physically, just all the way done. And I ended up having some medical issues, which I believe were partly a snowball effect of stress. And that naturally sat me down involuntarily. And in the midst of all of that, I had to think about my life and surrender to the situation and the circumstances that I was in. Some of the goals that I wanted to achieve, they didn't happen because it just wasn't a place where I was able to go during that time. And ever since then, for the last year, I have kind of just taken a step back and tried to put myself in a position where I am going with the flow and not necessarily trying to force the hustle, the grind, or even push myself back into it. What's crazy is I had this huge set of goals. I got this vision board and it had all of these things that I wanted to achieve. I knew exactly all of the things that needed to happen in order for me to achieve them. And then I realized that, man, I don't really know if I want to force myself back into that again. And so I started tackling things slowly, but everything just slowed down for me. And it wasn't even intentional. It was just I no longer was trying to push myself back into the grind. And at the end of the day, I just was letting things flow. So as a result, some of the goals that I had, many of the goals that I had actually didn't happen, and I didn't panic about it. And this was new for me. It's crazy because on my vision board, one of the quotes that I put on there said, trust the timing of your life. I haven't done as much as I thought I was going to do. I got all of these things still on my vision board that I haven't checked off. Now, I've made some progress, but not nearly as much as I anticipated I was going to make when I put all of those things on my vision board. And I had to just realize that trusting the timing of my life literally means trusting the timing. And I had to focus on not internalizing the fact that I said that I was going to do something and those things didn't come to fruition. I should not blame those things on myself and be so hard on myself about it, if that makes sense. And so I realized that sometimes trusting of the timing of your life means you are being forced into rest so that God can realign the path that you need to be on. I had no control over so many different things that happened, so many things that didn't happen, and I had to just roll with the punches and be good with that. So close your eyes and ask yourself, who did I become? Slowing down for me was really uncomfortable. I had to learn how to sit with stillness. I had to learn to be okay with my goals not being met. However, I also realized how much peace I was able to achieve just naturally by not doing for a change and for not ripping and running and rushing and grinding and hustling. If you are a part of the hustle culture, you don't really realize how that can impact you until you have to slow down. And as I started going with the flow, I started realizing I wasn't panicking. I started trusting my timing. I started understanding that maybe the timing was supposed to be slow. And I was open to a soft surrender of whatever life had for me rather than a forced achievement. Slowing down has taught me a lot of things about self-value. It has taught me that pausing isn't punishment. Pausing doesn't mean that you're not being successful. Pausing doesn't mean that you're lazy. It means that sometimes God has to redirect your pace. And we always think we need to be going. The reality is we may need to just slow ourselves down. Sit your little self down somewhere. You don't have to always be doing the thing. You can be in a season where you do some of the things or none of the things, really. Sometimes we get so caught up in our goals that we kind of just focus on those things. So even it becomes a part of our day to day. Like, how are you? Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing this. I have done this. I've achieved this. A lot of times, so much of our self-worth is centered by ourselves in the goals that we have set for ourselves that we don't even take a moment to just be. And so look at your life outside of your goals and to look at your story and really just reflect on it. For me, during this process, one thing that I learned is that I really enjoy the soft era. Like, I am loving the soft era. If you're new here, you may not know, but I'm an attorney and I have been an attorney for 14 years. And I have spent most of my life being the fixer, being the advisor, being the problem solver, and the person that people come to whenever they need pretty much anything. And that's great. I still love that part of who I am because I recognize that that is a gift that God gave me, the gift of problem solving and troubleshooting and helping people figure out what they want to do with their lives. That is something that I have been blessed with, and I do not take it for granted. But at the same time, I also in this season realized how good it feels to not be needed sometimes. It is really underrated not being needed when you are the person who is usually needed. If you're the strong friend in the group, if you are an advisor, if you are a service provider, you probably can relate to what I'm saying. And when a part of who you are and what you do is pouring into people, helping people, walking people through things. And this, I mean, even if that's not in your profession, it could be happening in your life. If you are a mom, if you are a parent, hands down, you should be able to relate. Sometimes you just want a moment when you don't have to be needed. And I just realized how good that felt. I was so used to just always something, whether it's a phone call, an email, or whatever. And not having to answer every phone call, not having to solve everything, I discovered that level of peace that comes with not being needed is actually very productive. I'm used to being productive like while I'm in the hot seat. While there's a timeline, there's tension, there's a problem that's got to be solved, there's a lot of acrimony happening, in the cases I'm dealing with, all kinds of things. And not being needed and being able to move at a pace that's a lot more slow, listen, super productive. Doesn't mean I'm not moving and working and shaking and doing all the things. It just means that I've had the opportunity to do it differently. So what have you learned about yourself? I think realizing that strength also exists in rest was something that was really good for me to kind of have to sit with. I have discovered that silence feels like healing, even if it's just for a moment. Like sometimes I just come into my office and I just am like, and very simple act of the day, also so peaceful. And I also learned that it's okay to let other people carry their own problems for a change. Even if you are used to being the one who solves everybody's problems. Everybody has the capacity to do some part when it relates to resolving their own problems. And when you are the person who is used to doing those things and solving those problems and giving that advice, it becomes a little difficult or maybe natural for you to not let other people carry their own problems. And you have to learn how to give yourself permission not to do that, not to carry everyone every day. Most days, sure. Some days, great. But you can be the strong one and be the soft one. Softness does not equal weakness. Rest does not equal laziness.